Hey, what do you know? This is Melvin Live Show. Today we're a bit late. My apologies. I was actually out. It's been a while since I was actually out for a meeting in the evening, and after that, I just felt like I needed a run, and so I went out and ran for about 4.2 kilometers. And as I was running, I was thinking about what is the focus and focus for the day itself. And so I came up with the focus. And when I came back from the run, I just had to put that down in writing before I forget it. And so hence as a result that this is late. So my apologies and thank you for staying and for watching. Now, this, as you can see today, make a few changes here. The books have all been shifted, and I just want a clean look for this new setup itself. So let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Um, yeah. So today, what I'm gonna do is I am going to go into the details of or rather, I'm going to give you an example of what I call a six-figure flywheel. Now, to give you a little bit of context itself, what this person did was that so this person is actually a one-person, non-employee business. I mean, I followed him since 2015, I think. And in the process itself, I've watched how he has pivoted from one thing to another to another. And every time when he latch on something or when he goes into a new project itself, it's always interesting to watch because there's so much to learn from him. And so the person that I'm talking about, his name is Paul Jarvis. Let me just bring that up for you, okay? So his name is Paul Jarvis, and now let me just do this. So his name is Paul Jarvis, and this is his website. I just love his website for its minimal feel of things. And as you can see, one of the key things that he has done. I mean, right now, what one of the achievement that he has achieved is writing of this book called The Company of One. So The Company of One essentially, like in what we talked about here, it's about this one person, 1 million all digital business concept itself. So Paul actually, it's, the business that he does is actually everything is digital. So, he is really one person that to watch as well as to learn from. So without going without any further ado, what I'd like to do is to show you his flywheel. So what happened is he has got a course called Chim Essentials, right? And so Chim Essentials essentially is a um, masterclass teaching you how to use MailChimp. Now, if you're not familiar with MailChimp, MailChimp is actually an email service that you can sign up for, and it will handle things like sending out emails to your subscribers. So I'm sure in your journey on the internet itself, you would have inevitably signed up for some newsletter that have used MailChimp as the provider. So MailChimp is just it's one of the first few um, email provider that I know that allows you to grow your business, and it has kind of used um, introduced several tools over the years. Like for example, now it's got landing pages, and it allows you to do drag and drop newsletter itself. So it's really really cool. However, Mailchimp isn't one of the most intuitive tool to use. And so what Paul is teaching in Chim Essentials itself is that you could actually configure MailChimp in such a way that the entire process can become automated. And so one of the best way to demonstrate, or one of the best way to sell this whole idea, is to demonstrate it, right? So by demonstrating, what he does is that he actually invites you to sign up for the, to get notified itself. What happens when you sign up? It's the following. He would actually put you on an email sequence. And if you notice, it says that Chim Essentials only open, just a few times a year. So technically speaking, even if you come to this site and you have your credit card ready, you couldn't enroll, right? Because there is no buy button in this entire um, web page itself, right? So you have questions, you can look at the curriculum, you can look at the articles, and if you are already a student, obviously you could log in. But other than that, there is no buy button here. And so that has been a very, very interesting concept, because arguably when you land on any online course, more often than not, the course provider or the person who is selling the course would be more than happy to have you sign up for the course, right? I mean, if you are selling an online course, wouldn't you be happy that every day when you wake up, you hear the chime or the notification goes off, and that means someone has bought a course from you? I mean, wouldn't you like it? The whole idea behind that? Absolutely right. So it's a little counterintuitive to know that what Paul is doing, it's quite the opposite. So even if you say that, well, I'm ready, Paul, I want to buy it now. There is no in, right? There is no way that you can get it itself. So let's take a look at how this whole flywheel works. Now, to look at the flywheel itself, I think one of the people who have done an excellent job dissecting this is Rabbit Rabbit HQ, right? So Rabbit Rabbit HQ actually did a in-depth, I would say, right, an in-depth analysis of how this whole process works. So it starts off with, it talks about the the um, the number of courses that are in this course itself, and what is the annual revenue like, right? And what's clearly attractive for you and I, it's the idea that this whole process is automated, right? Because you want to identify what is it that you could do, and what is it that you want to be automated. So for example, if you if if you are working on a project itself, what you really want to do is you want to be able to map out the entire process itself and look at which part of it is something that you can actually automate or outsource. Okay, so that's something that it's really, really key to look out for. So the first part is, if you think about it, if someone is new to MailChimp and he or she is wanting to find out a little bit more about MailChimp, or perhaps they have heard something about MailChimp and they're not quite sure. So what do they do? Well, naturally, most people the would turn to Google and start searching, right? So as they start searching on Google itself, what's going to happen is this website is going to bubble up to the top. Now, why does it bubble up to the top? The reason is because in the website of Chim Essentials, you would actually find this whole list of articles. And this entire list of articles are actually well researched. So there are either questions, frequently asked questions that people have about MailChimp, right? Um, or certain myth or preconceived idea that people have about MailChimp. For example, people would have this idea of, well, which provider is better? Is it MailChimp or is it Constant Contact? And so he has written an article on that, right? Um, some people say that while the MailChimp templates are really just very simple and they're boring, and why that is so, right? And so as you look through this entire list itself, you cannot help but notice that many of these articles are linked to the questions that people have about MailChimp. So this is step number one. So step number one, have a list of questions. I mean, do your research and identify the list of questions that people have about the service that you're providing, right? And make sure you crank out solid, well researched articles, and then that's where you put it up. So that's the first thing. So people are asking on Google what they are looking at in terms of MailChimp, all this will comes up. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, what's interesting with how Paul Jarvis has done it is that he has deliberately not even allowed you to enroll for the course, right? So there is only one thing that you can do. I mean, there are a few things that you can do. One, of course, is to look at the curriculum. The other is to read the articles. Um, but the really one thing that you would do if you are interested in the course itself, it's where you will punch in your name and your email address into this opt-in box. Now, once you give your name into the opt-in box itself, it starts the entire journey, right? And the entire journey starts off with an email. Now, and so in the first email itself, it really talked about making sure that the people who have opted in are actually the people who are, are the ideal customer for Chim Essentials, right? And so that is something that he has done. Now, of course, after that, he talks about, why, who is this for, and what's in it for you, and also to give you the possibility that, stick around because you are going to find out about this thing and what this whole thing is all about. And so that's how it rolls, right? And then email number two, it goes, he talks about going from 0 to 35,000 subscribers, how he does that, and how, a few years later, he's actually pulling in 400K a year thanks to this mailing list. And so it kind of paints a picture of, right, telling you that, I've done this and this is where you are, and this is how I could solve your problem, right? So very clearly, the problem that people face is that I want to build a list, and that's why I am here looking at MailChimp. But in order for me to build the list, I some of us really do not know what to do. And so this is where he gives in the guidance itself. So next he talks about, people would have certain level of doubts about that service provider, which is MailChimp. And so this is where he starts addressing some of the common doubts or the common myth that people have about MailChimp, right? So at this point in time, if you are not convinced, what's likely going to happen is that you're probably not going to open the next email that he sends, or you might even unsubscribe and just get out because you're like, I don't buy this. Now, but if you decide to continue, here's what he would demonstrate to you, right? This is the promise that I will give you, and also that these are the social proof. So really, this is, just giving you that affirmation that, you are not first, and this thing has not just worked for me, it has worked for other people as well. And so that kind of gives you that confidence that if you were to enroll and do as he tells you to do, you are very likely going to achieve the results. And 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 when he's all prime you up to that level itself, by the time it comes to email number 5, he gives you an opportunity to he presents an opportunity for you to get into essentials today. And what's interesting is that he even gives you a discount. I think it's a 10% discount, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so it's like it's just open for 24 hours. If you want in, now's the time to opt in, because on top of the fact that otherwise you would not have an opportunity to buy this program. But now I'm giving you the opportunity to buy this program. On top of that, I'm also giving you a discount. So, if you have been on the fence, this is the time for you to buy, right? And then the last email or so, it really talks about, just reminding, giving you a nudge, reminding you that, this thing is going to close in a couple of hours time. And if you want, here's the time. This is the time right now to really, you know commit and sign up, right? And so with that itself, it really kind of gives you an idea of what this whole flywheel it's all about. So when we kind of put everything back, now that we have with the help of Rabbit, we have deconstructed this entire flywheel. Now what we want to do is to reconstruct it back for you. So the reason why he decides not to open up the course for anyone who land on it to buy at that point in time is that you probably get more people. He will probably get more people signing up. However, you're probably going to get a higher level of people who are dissatisfied because of mismatched expectations, or they might not be the ideal students after all. So here it's where applying the idea of scarcity, that, you know, yes, this thing is only open up several times a year, but right now it's not available, right? So you gotta check back. But what's gonna happen is that you can actually opt in, and I will notify you when it becomes available. So that is where you have a sense of anticipation because you might go onto the site, read all the articles. Now you're a little bit more convinced, and and here you are thinking that, I wonder, what are some of the things that I could gain from attending this course. And so with that itself, you start having a certain level of anticipation. And those anticipation are good because the next thing you know is that he will send you an email. And this is the time where he kind of primes you for the sale. But before he goes into the sale itself, he wants to make sure that you are the right or the ideal customer that he wants. And so it kind of puts you through a certain process itself. So the first one really is to get you to, give you an idea, talks about the problem that you have and how he can solve your problem. And then third, it's really, demonstrating um, with some social proof. And then, after that, really to debunk some of the myth and to to then open it up and offer a discount. So what you can potentially think of is that if you are running an online course, right? What you can possibly do is to emulate some of the things that he does. In not necessarily in the same way as he does it, but what you want to do is you want to create an idea of scarcity, right? Something that perhaps only a group of people with the right fit is able to get access to this course. So this method is one. The other method, of course, is for you to ask them to apply for this course, right? I even know of one online marketer. What he does is that he will tell you that in order for you to book a session, what you would need to do is to put a down payment or to put a refundable deposit of $10,000. Right. And so if you are really, really interested in engaging him, that is what you would do. So it's all about qualifying your your prospects to make sure that they are qualifying your leads to make sure that they are good prospects. So that's principle number one. So how would you want to be able to create a sense of scarcity so that you have that exclusivity feel, and also it kind of gets people all in a sense hype up because of that. So that's one key aspect of it. The other key aspect of it is that how are you going to get the word out? So for Paul, what he does is that well researched questions about MailChimp, and he writes articles about that. Right. So that's definitely something you can do. It's an SEO strategy. But if you're thinking that, well, it's going to take too long, then obviously you could pair it up with SEM, right? So you can do a SEM strategy as well as SEO strategy. Because SEM over time, it's probably going to be quite costly for you. However, if once you get to a certain level, and you have both, right? You can use SEM to kind of boost you up, but then using SEO to kind of build that foundation and build that momentum over time. So that's definitely something that you can look at. Now, so that's the second pillar. That's how people are going to find you. Now, the third pillar is really to be able to go at an intimate level to speak to your prospect and to talk about their problems, talk about the solution, address some of their objections or misconceptions, educate them, and then show them some social proof about how you have been helping other people, and then as a result that, then you make an offer. So that part really is to nurture the customer, the prospect, so that when the time comes, when you open it up, they are totally primed to take on this offer itself. Okay, so those are the key pillars that you can consider. Let me know if this has been helpful. If it has, give me a thumbs up. And if you want more of such, um, content, make sure you subscribe. Okay, so with that, I thank you so much for being here today. I know it's a bit late and I'm a bit tired, but a promise is a promise, and so I'm here today for you. And so if you've got further questions, drop me a comment, and I'll be more than glad to answer your questions yourself. All right. And so with that, thank you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.